In its first episode, Talk Tuah exploded on the scene with 2.4 million views. But every other episode has done significantly worse, with the latest barely hitting 90,000 views. Has the viral Hawk Tuah girl really lost her magic? Or is it just a bad strategy? In this video, I'm gonna break down the numbers, explore a brand new direction that could take Talk Tuah from being a personal diary to a powerhouse platform for other women that want to reclaim their stories. Welcome to Video SEO Club. So everybody with an internet connection knows the Hawk Tuah girl, right? And you probably know that she started a podcast. And there's been tons of media reports saying that this is one of the #1 podcasts in the country. I just don't think it is. So let's look at the numbers. On YouTube alone, the first episode received 2.4 million views. It's the launching episode. We've seen similar things with the Undertaker podcast, where everything starts off great and then it just kind of falls off a cliff. And it's interesting because there are parallels between the Hawk Tuah girl and the Undertaker. They both had a catchphrase, and they both kind of had this mystique about them. And it turns out once people start to learn who the person is behind the character, they become much less interested. Because you see the most recent episode in 3 days received 90,000 views. 10 days ago, 240,000 views. So clearly, Welch and Company, which includes Jake Paul, launched with an episode with Whitney Cummings, who's an actress, a comedian. So that's a high-profile guest on the first episode. Then on the second episode, we're on the porch of Grandma. You see, episode 3 here is all about Pookie. Who's Pookie? Apparently, this is a love interest of Hailey Welch, but the problem is the general public's just not interested in that. And we know this because it received 629,000 views versus the 2.4 million on that first episode. Now maybe this should have been the second episode with JoJo Siwa. I probably said her name wrong. I'm not a Gen Z guy, so I only lightly know who this person is, but I know that there is interest around this person. She's quite polarizing. And you see this, 744,000 views in 3 weeks. I would have made that episode too. I will give credit to Hailey Welch though, because she did take control of her own stardom. Most people who go viral, they just don't have the infrastructure put in place in order to monetize. Now Hailey's been able to monetize her virality on her own terms. But how long is the question? Is there longevity to this podcast? I mean, clearly you can see that there's interest in the Talk Tuah podcast, but look at the first question that everyone asks. Is Talk Tuah discontinued? Is Talk Tuah good? Is the Talk Tuah podcast real? And why did the Talk Tuah podcast get canceled? So if we go back to the actual data on this, we look at the stats. Last week we're down 29%. We're still getting 6,000 subscribers, and look, who am I to judge, right? She's still getting 90,000 views on a video. You can monetize that. She's selling some things in her store here. Probably be smarter to put Hawk Tuah on there rather than Talk Tuah, but that's a marketing choice. Longevity would be the biggest question here. And maybe one of the problems is Hailey Welch is interjecting a lot of her personal life that maybe the general public just does not care about. What they'd probably be more interested in is seeing the Talk Tuah girl in different scenarios, right? Like maybe bring on Monica Lewinsky. Maybe have her interview somebody like Roseanne. If I was running the marketing and the strategy for the Talk Tuah podcast, I'd have her interview just infamous women. Women who are kind of strong personalities. Why not bring on Lindsay Lohan? Let's have Hailey Welch interview other women who have taken control of their identity, who have maybe gone outside of the box that society tried to put them in and kind of reclaim their own stories. I think that would be a very interesting podcast, more so than interviewing grandma or maybe talking to friends on the porch. But who knows? Who knows what the play is from Better Media? But is it serving the best interests of Hailey Welch, or is it a quick play just to capitalize on the temporary interest that the Talk Tuah podcast now has? I think it could be long-term sustainable if we went that route. But let's take a look and see how much interest actually exists in Hailey Welch and her podcast. So here's the data on Hawk Tuah, the search term on YouTube for the past 12 months. So you see interest peaked around June 23rd. It's when things start to go viral. You see how long things stay viral there, because by July 14th, it already dropped down significantly, and that's kind of where it stayed, intermittently getting back up to 20 out of 100. And here we see a breakdown of the states that are most interested. New Hampshire, Maine, Montana, Wyoming, Vermont. A lot of these small population states are really interested, it seems. Let's break it down to the last 30 days. Again, some of the smaller states are leading the interest pool for Hawk Tuah. Now, if we look at Talk Tuah, for the last 12 months in the United States on YouTube. You see it peaked out around September 15th, around the time that they launched the podcast. And after that first episode, it looks like it took a pretty big nosedive 2 weeks later. Went back up again. That might have been when JoJo jumped on. And then we just kind of see it going up and down intermittently here. Again, some of the smaller states is where Hailey's getting her most interest. These are the cities that are most interested in her. College Station, Texas. Allen, Texas. Tempe. These are college towns, right? Charleston, Knoxville, Bloomington, Madison, Wisconsin. So I think the better strategy, no pun intended, for a Hailey Welch podcast would see her bringing on more notable celebrities. So it's kind of like the whole theory behind the Scooby-Doo episodes where Scooby-Doo meets Kiss, Scooby-Doo meets the Three Stooges, Scooby-Doo meets the Harlem Globetrotters. What you gotta understand is you're crossing two different brands, two different franchises, so to speak. So you're gonna get followers of Hailey Welch and whoever she has on as a guest. So if I'm Jake Paul, I'm calling up Amanda Bynes, I'm calling up Paris Hilton, I'm calling up Elizabeth Holmes, might even call up Paula Deen, Amanda Heard, Rachel Dolezal. Let's get some of these women that have been painted a certain way by the media and kind of let them reclaim their own identity, kind of let them tell their side of the story with an internet sensation, Hailey Welch, who went viral and was able to reclaim her story. And here's another added layer to this. Why just depend on the actual podcast? Why don't we have Hailey Welch going out, just like the guy who interviewed her goes out, and interviewing people on the streets? Imagine what kind of excitement that would bring to a college town. We already see she's popular in all these college cities, so why not put a mic in her hand, put her out there on College Row, by all the bars, all the clubs, and have her do with other people what actually made her famous. That's going to get a lot more interest than talking to Grandma, talking to Pookie, and it's going to turn into a thing of its own, that type of content. It's already associated with Hailey, so why not lean into it and do more of that? Do more of what got you to the show. But to be honest, Hailey Welch has a lot to be proud of. She was able to take a moment in time and monetize it well beyond what most internet celebrities have been able to do, especially those of the viral variety. She's hooked up with Jake Paul, so the guy's got the cash probably to back any of these endeavors that I just discussed. I think that's a much better long-term strategy for the Talk Tuah channel, podcast, the whole brand of Hailey Welch, rather than just kind of winging it is what it seems like it is to me. But that's my own opinion. It's not something I engage with. I'm not the target audience, but the numbers don't lie. And I wish her the best. I hope that her podcast becomes long-term successful. Hope she finds her groove. And yeah. That's my 2 cents on it.